Sand Raiders of Sophie is worth looking at if you like the crew chaos of Sea of Thieves, but you want something darker, heavier, and built around extraction. The main idea is simple: your base has legs. It is a giant walking machine you travel in, fight from, protect, and try to bring home with your loot. In this review, I'll cover what the game is about, why the Trampler in my opinion stands out, what has me worried most about this game, who is it for, and whether it is worth jumping into right now. Let's start with what this game is actually about. Sand Raiders of Sophie is a multiplayer PvPvE extraction game, which means you deal with both real players and computer-controlled threats during the same run. It takes place in the ruined desert planet Sophie, with a diesel punk style, huge machines, dry open spaces, and a strange alternate history tone. You enter the desert, search for loot and resources, face enemies and other players, and then try to extract before the run turns against you. The difference is the Trampler, a huge walking base that comes with you into the match. And when playing this game I had that feeling. It is an extraction game, but it's also a game on which most of the identity is built around that machine. What caught me about Sand is not just the extraction setup. There are already plenty of games built around looting, taking risks, and losing progress when a run goes badly. But what for me made Sand stand out is that the danger is attached to something large and visible. You're not only thinking about your character or your backpack, you are thinking about your machine, where it is, what it carries, and whether you can still get back to it when another group appears. And for me, this idea gave the game a clear identity, and the visual style does support it well. Sand has a strong and unique look. The world feels dry, worn down, and mechanical. The desert feels harsh, empty, and dangerous, which fits the kind of game this is trying to be. And the Trampler helps a lot with skill. Seeing these huge machines move across the landscape gives the game a different presence from most multiplayer shooters. Encounters feel bigger before anyone even starts shooting. So to me, the idea is great, and I actually enjoyed that a lot when playing. But also in a game like this, clarity is very important as well. You need to understand what is happening around you, where threats are coming from, and when a fight is becoming too risky. And if the feedback is unclear, tension can turn into confusion. So visually, Sand has a strong, unique identity. The question for me is whether it can turn that identity into a good multiplayer moment consistently. And I saw a lot of other reviews saying this game is kind of Sea of Thieves. Yeah, and to me that makes sense up till a point, because yeah, it takes that shared vehicle idea from Sea of Thieves. But for me, it didn't felt at all like playing Sea of Thieves. The tone is different, the combat feels different, and the structure is more focused on risk. But the comparison kind of works because both games understand that a shared vehicle can become more than just a means of transport. When your base moves with you, the session does feel different. You're not just moving from one fight to the next. No, you're also trying to protect something. And a bad choice can put the whole run in danger, and not just one player. And having said that, a strong setup like this works, but it only works if the multiplayer side is stable enough to support it. And when I started playing this game, my biggest concern I had is not the idea, because that idea looked very strong. The concern for me was whether the game can support that idea right off the bat, right at launch. In my opinion, multiplayer extraction games can be fragile. If the servers struggle, the whole experience suffers, and if combat feedback feels inconsistent, fights become frustrating. And if the matchmaking is uneven, new players can get pushed away quickly. And if solo players are constantly punished by squads, part of the audience may not stay long either. And I noticed that earlier playtests already raised concerns about performance, bugs, balance, and the server quality. And that does not mean the game cannot improve, but it does mean I would go into Sand with realistic expectations. Okay, and before we move on, a quick mention of the partner for this video, No Ping. Since Sand is a multiplayer game, it is a good reminder that connection stability can make a big difference in online games. No Ping is made for games where high ping, packet loss or unstable routing can hurt that experience. It supports a large library of games, so check first if the games you play and are interested in are included. A link is down below in the description. And now back to my review, because if anything gives this game a chance, it is clearly the Trampler. I talked about this a little bit already in my review before. The Trampler is the best thing about Sand. It is that feature that makes the game easy to remember. It makes it stand out from other games. For me, this is a very cool thing because my base wasn't just sitting safely somewhere outside the match. No, it's part of the run you do. You move with it, you depend on it, you fight around it, and you try to bring it home safe. And for me, that made the whole experience feel more physical and more intense. And the best moments I had with this game was not just when I was winning a fight. It was more about watching a plan that I made start to fall apart and trying to save it in all the chaos. It was in those moments when I realized I had probably pushed too far. I would have enough loot to make leaving the smart choice, but then another opportunity appeared. Or another crew showed up before I was ready for them, and that is when Sand felt most interesting to me. It's not because I was doing all these fights, but it was because I constantly had to check whether staying longer was worth the risk. So this is a thing that brought real tension and excitement to the game, but it's also this same feature that creates its biggest risk. The weakest thing I felt with Sand is that the game can feel a bit uneven between the big moments. When another crew appears, when your Trampler is exposed, or when you're trying to leave with a good loot, the game works. That tension is the best part for me. But outside of those moments, some runs can feel very slow. You spend time moving through the desert, checking locations, managing your routes, and waiting for the next real point of pressure. Okay, this is not always a bad thing, because a game like this needs quiet moments to make those dangerous moments feel that much stronger. But in Sand, I sometimes felt the gap between those moments a bit too much. So the idea is strong, but the rhythm of a run does not always stay sharp. And that is also the reason why I would be careful with Sand right now, because a walking base is a great hook, but the game still needs enough variety, it needs pressure, and it needs meaningful choices to keep every run from feeling like you are just sitting around waiting for the next interesting thing to happen. And having talked about all these different things the game has to offer, it's time to answer this one. Who is this game for? Well, Sand is for players who enjoy risky multiplayer games where a plan can fall apart with a blink of the eye. If you like moving with a crew, protecting a shared base, choosing when to fight, and accepting that a bad decision can cost you, this game has a certain and clear appeal. It is also for those players who want extraction games that don't feel so familiar. But if you're a gamer who likes to play solo, I would be more careful. You see, a game built around a large moving base sounds naturally stronger with a crew. I would also be careful if you dislike losing progress, avoiding PvP pressure, or want a polished multiplayer game from day one. And with that in mind, here is my final verdict. So would I recommend you to play Sand, Raiders of Sophie right now? So the idea, it looks very appealing, but I would wait for a couple of updates. But on the other hand, if you love experimental multiplayer games, and if you have a couple of friends to play this game with, then this game is lots of fun. And of course, if you love the idea of a walking base in an extraction game, then yeah, go for it. But I feel that for most players, this is not just a safe buy at this moment. So again, I would wait until the first real launch feedback confirms the important parts, and that is server stability, matchmaking, the combat feel, solo balance, and whether the loop feels good enough after the first few sessions. Because for me, this game became a bit boring after having a few goes. Well, okay, that is all for me. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.